And we're live.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to another week here at Side Hustles by Seoenz. I am Heidi So.
And this is Juan Carlos Enriquez.
And today we have Luis Cardenas, a real estate investor here in El Paso, Texas. So, Luis, before we get into your niche, what kind of business do you have? How did you get started? And where are you today?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say good morning to everyone. And thank you for inviting me to your show, guys. I'm honored. It's an honor to be here. And I do several different things. I try to have different sources of income. I follow that thing when they say your average millionaire has 7 sources of income. I'm trying to get there. I'm not a millionaire yet, but I'm trying to get those sources of income started. So the first thing I started with back in 2013 was investing in real estate. So I'm a real estate investor, and I also do credit restoration and debt elimination, and I also do solar system sales. So I do that as well. I do other things, but they're not really a main focus. It doesn't take a lot of my time, like online sales and all that. But what I really focus on, my niche, is real estate investing. So what that entails is you find properties that are distressed, or the sellers are very motivated to sell for different reasons: divorce, death in the family, or maybe they lost their job, and so they need to sell their home very fast. So a lot of times they're very motivated to sell. So that's when you can find really great deals, discounted properties. That's the whole idea of real estate investing: finding discounted properties that you can buy for pennies on the dollar. If they need some repair, then you do rehabbing. You fix them up, and then you sell them for a profit. So you buy low and sell high. That's basically what they call fix and flip. That's what real estate investing is all about.
Great. So we have our friends and family are always listening to us, and we're very thankful for it. So they actually sent a couple of questions ahead of time for you, and we want to go over them. So Victor from Victory Insurance, he's the one that sent this question, and I hope he's listening. So how to prepare yourself financially to buy an investment property? And for someone that wants to do Airbnb, what would be the method to prepare financially?
Okay. All right. So for Airbnb, I know you're an expert in Airbnb. I'm not, but I am familiar with rentals. And so even though it's not the same, Airbnb and rental, it applies. So really, to prepare yourself financially for an investment property, Airbnb or any other kind of property, before you think about money, you really need to get prepared as far as credit wise. You need to have a good enough credit, good credit history, and also a low debt to income ratio. What that means is that your debts should be less than what your income is, or it should be in a balanced ratio so that lenders can see you as credit worthy. And your credit score should be around, it varies, but it should be at least a 650 credit score to be able to pre-qualify for any kind of property. Usually realtors, they like to pre-qualify you, and so if you're not at that level yet, sometimes they won't even show you properties.
Okay.
So that's one way. Saving is saving money is usually not realistic because it takes a long time. It's not really something that you could save, I don't know, $100 a month, but how many months is it going to take you to have enough for a property? So it's not realistic savings. It's more realistic to either start a business very low key, very slow, and basically just selling anything of value that you can find. If you have an extra car that you're not really using right now, then sell that car. If you have things that are laying around that you're not really using, sell that. That's one way to do it. Another way would be fundraising with family and friends. if you have a good investment property and you've done your numbers, you've done your due diligence, and you present that to your friends or family members or anybody that you know, an acquaintance, and you try and show them, look, this is a good property, it's a good investment. If we partner up, you put the funds, I put my expertise, I do all the work. That's one way to partner up. That's another way you can prepare yourself financially. And another way is, if you're a first-time home buyer, a lot of times you don't even need a down payment because there's programs out there that for first-time home buyers that the banks don't even ask you for a down payment, or maybe a very low down payment, maybe a 3%. Sometimes they do that. For VA loans, most of the times there's no down payment, so that's great. If people can qualify for a VA loan. And if you already do own another property, you can also do something called a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit. So you use the property you currently own to gather up funds to buy another property. So that's why when they say when you buy a home, that's when you can really start acquiring wealth, is because you can use your main residence
As a leverage.
as a means to get started with the funds for an investment property. Those are some of the ways to prepare financially.
Those are great answers. Okay, so the next question will be how to assess the value of an Airbnb property. And before you answer that, I do want to point out to our audience that we are mainly focusing on an Airbnb investment property, because since that's pretty much what we do, what we know, that's what we want to share with you on how once you acquire a property meant for Airbnb, how you
hold
can
it.
actually, you could actually put it on Airbnb and make money off of that. So that will be your next side hustle if you stick around with us. So
Right.
sorry about that, but so go ahead. So how do you assess the value of a property?
Well, the main thing you want to really focus on is you need to assess on the house the square footage of the house and also the rooms that are in the house. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and also the repairs needed. You can assess the value of the property, because if it needs a lot of repairs, then it's not very valuable. You're going to have to spend money on that, so the value would go down on that, and that's how you can negotiate a lower price. And another thing you can do is you can compare by comparing in the neighborhood to see different values of homes around the neighborhood. Usually around half a mile radius is a pretty good way to do it. And also comparing rent prices. That's how you can figure out, you can assess the value of the property using those things. But mainly it's about what's the neighborhood and what's inside the property and in what shape the property is.
And I want to add on to what you just said about checking out other rental properties around the area. And that's such a great idea because, as you know, Airbnb can pretty much double or triple your rental income. So
Yes.
if you do have an idea of what the rent would be around that neighborhood, now put in that design aspect, that it will be very pretty, and that you will have it furnished, and you could probably, maybe allow pets in your area. So those factors, you put them in, and then that's what you gets you the double or the triple on your income property. So do think about that when you're looking for the rental property estimate around your neighborhood.
Definitely.
All right, so moving forward, what
All right.
key factors should a potential buyer look for in an investment property?
Okay. I think the main one is to focus on properties that only need cosmetic rehab, cosmetic work. It needs paint, it needs, molding, it needs trim, it needs, fixing up walls that are just a sheetrock, just patching it up and painting it, making it as nice as possible. But you don't really want to look into properties that have major issues, like structural issues, like maybe there's a wall that's load bearing and it's in bad shape. You don't want to deal with that. Or roof issues, foundation issues, plumbing issues are very expensive, electrical issues. And I'm talking major. If it's a one clogged pipe, that can be taken care of. But if it's like the whole plumbing where they need to dig up, part of the foundation to fix all that, or those are major, and you're talking thousands of dollars. So that's going to take away your profit. Or electrical, if it needs a light somewhere, that can be done. But if like the whole system needs to be upgraded because maybe the electrical panel is not going to be able to hold the current, or whatever, a big refrigerator or something that's major, the electrical system is not in good shape, you're going to have to redo the whole electrical. You want to stay away from that because that's going to take away from your profits. Now, unless the property that you're looking into is priced extremely low, then it would make sense to get a house that has some major issues. But mainly, yeah, you want to focus on properties that only need cosmetic repairs.
Improvements.
Yeah, improvements. Yeah.
And the reason will be just because you want to get this property, and the sooner the better you get on Airbnb, then the sooner you start getting your money back. And even though you're not going to sell this property and it's going to stay with you at your portfolio, your rental portfolio, you do need to make sure that you're not spending more money than what you got the loan for, right? Because maybe you did get families and friends to do a fundraiser with you, or maybe you went the conventional way and bought this property. So you just have to think about those. Where are you going to get the money from if you no longer have a loan? You only have your mortgage. So, think about that before you get into this very maybe big investment that it was just supposed to be just acquiring a property, and now it just went, you went all over budget. And it's hard. It's hard to maintain your budget when you're doing repairs. Yeah, as long as they're just cosmetic, or maybe just changing, or fixing walls like Luis mentioned, that's totally fine. But we speak from experience. Me and my husband, when we did acquire our duplex, we just were not prepared for what we had to do. And thank goodness that we had our friends and our family to help out, and we did a lot of work. Well, my husband did a lot of the work because he needed to do that in order for us to save some money. We didn't have the budget anymore to hire a contractor, or or someone that had a license, I would say. And I know that sounds very bad, but he's able to do some quick fixes. He's able to work with plumbing, electrical, and that's a very it's like a blessing in disguise when you're into this big investment. So I would definitely agree with you and stay away from something that needs that big of investment, because you're gonna run out of money, and then now you don't have it ready for your Airbnb guests. And then so if it's not ready, how can you offer this accommodation for someone to pay money to stay in, right? So
your biggest asset, it really is, if you're able to put sweat equity into the property, which means that when you're trying to do an investment property for Airbnb especially, you're gonna be doing a lot of little fixes, and you gotta really, really, really focus on detail. Everything has to be detailed, very clean, very sharp. And if you're able to do the work yourself, you're going to save yourself a lot of money. So sweat equity is very important for investments.
I hadn't heard that term. I think I'm going to start using it. Sweat equity. That's a very neat
Put
term.
your sweat into it. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's pretty much what business is, right? You have to put in your time, and you have to put in your sweat.
Yep. You can't be scared to get your hands dirty. You got to do it. Got to do it.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I just learned something new. Hope my listeners are learning something new too.
Right.
Okay, so the next question is how to find the right location for an Airbnb investment property. Maybe like what location is the right location, and of course that could vary, but what would be like
Right.
the pinpoint for you that you would recommend?
So for Airbnb, I think it's quite simple. You definitely want to compare actually inside Airbnb. You want to
Mm-hmm.
look at other properties in Airbnb and determine high demand locations. So if you look into Airbnb and you see that there's a demand for a specific location and other Airbnb properties are renting per day way higher than in other locations, that's your indicator that that area, that location is prime. You want to do Airbnb there because there's a high demand, you know. So you want to look into that for sure. Use Airbnb to your advantage and compare inside Airbnb. And then also, depending on that, that's going to tell you what side of town you're gonna want your Airbnb in, and you also want to make sure that there's freeway access that's pretty close. That the guests are not going to have to be driving 10 miles just to get into the freeway. It should be readily accessible as much as possible. Not very close, but also not over 10 miles because then all they're going to spend their time is driving just to be able to get from point A to point B. And you also want to make sure it's a safe neighborhood. It doesn't have to be the best, but it's better to find a neighborhood that's established already, that's been around, that a desirable area. You don't want to get a Airbnb, near let's say low income housing, or you know places that don't look safe,
Mm-hmm.
where the homes are in really bad shape, because then that's not gonna make the guests feel safe. They're not gonna want to go anywhere. They're just gonna want to stay in there. So that's not gonna be a good experience for the guest.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's gonna, once they don't feel safe, then they'll put that in the review, and
Right.
then sooner or later you're gonna start seeing that dip on your income because more people, they don't want to be around. Especially, I would say right now we have a lot of traveling nurses,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
traveling solo, so
True.
they definitely do want something that that's safe, that they feel comfortable,
Yeah.
that they can access maybe easily the freeway to get from to work, because they're coming here to work just like all
Exactly.
of us.
Yeah.
So that's something that it's very important. But I think I definitely would emphasize on the safe part. If you want to get that house and it's a great price, but around you the houses are not great, they're very bad shape, do not get it, because
Right.
it's not going to be to your benefit. And it's just it's just gonna on Airbnb people are just gonna know, oh no, don't go to that area, or it's just not safe. um
Mm. Yeah.
so even though it's gonna be very cheap, it probably, right, getting an
Right.
investment property in that area, um you know
It's not going to pay off.
it's not, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. You're just gonna have that and again, if it doesn't pay out for Airbnb, that's the beauty about it to a long-term tenant. But if your main thing is wanting to put it on Airbnb, then definitely look out for those things, because it's very important. It's very
Right.
important. Okay, so once you
True.
determine the right property, what are the steps to buy?
Okay. So yeah, like you said, once you found that something that looks good, you researched, on Airbnb, you made sure the neighborhood it looks safe. Maybe there's some interesting things around the property that guests would like to go to, near restaurants, maybe near downtown, maybe near UTEP, all of that stuff. Maybe some at a specific side of town, like east side. I know on the east side there's a lot of interest on the east side. So once you've determined that, then it's pretty straightforward. You know, you're usually going to be working with a realtor most of the times. And sometimes you will get properties that are sold by the owner, but usually not. Most of the times it's going to be with an agent, a real estate agent, a realtor. So you submit your offer, what you want to pay for the property. You submit it to the realtor, and then after that, if the seller agrees to your offer, usually they don't. Usually it's a back and forth. You'll submit your offer. They'll come back with a counter offer, and then you can negotiate from there. So after the offer's accepted, then you would submit a deposit to a title company, a real estate title company. That's called an earnest money deposit. So, depending on what the terms are, is going to determine how much of an earnest you need to put us down as a deposit. That's the earnest. And then so after the earnest, you schedule an inspection of the property and also an appraisal of the property. And, make sure there's no major issues, which is what you want to look out for. That's what the inspector is going to help you with. And the appraiser is going to let you know, okay, you're within a range of what you're trying to pay for the property. So that'll help you out too. After that, if everything looks good, the inspection looks good, the appraisal looks good, then that's the time when you secure funding to actually purchase the property. And you can do that through, if you did fundraising, then you can do that through cash if you have the cash. And then you could also do a conventional loan, which is working with a mortgage company. The mortgage company, they'll actually help you a lot with the whole credit thing and your debt to income ratio. They know, and not only do they know about credit scores and where you need to be, but they can also let you know what to move around to bring your debt to income ratio balanced. If you need to pay off something first before you can actually qualify for that amount, they'll let you know. The mortgage lenders, they usually help on that. Or you can also do what I had mentioned, which is the HELOC, the home equity line of credit. You secure that funding, you go ahead and pay for the property, and after that they give you the keys to it. It's pretty straightforward.
Awesome. So I wanted to ask you a question. So how have you been doing your real estate investing? So have you been using all of what you mentioned, or you mainly focus on that HELOC that you talk about?
Well, I've done different ways. A lot of the investments I've done is called wholesale, which is finding a property that's very low priced. And so for that, I've used something called hard money. And I hadn't mentioned that before, because for Airbnb, you don't really want to use hard money. Hard money is basically in a loan that you get from a private lender. It's usually not a bank. It's just a company that focuses on lending out very short-term loans, usually 3 months, at the most 6 months. So for Airbnb, it doesn't really work. But what I've done in the past for my investments is I've used a hard money loan to secure a property, and then I do what is called wholesale, which is after I secure the property with that funding, then I sell it to someone that is going to rehab that property. They're going to fix it up, and then they're going to resell it. So I've done the hard money lending, and I've also done conventional loans. I haven't done fundraising yet. I haven't done that route yet. And a HELOC, the home equity line of credit, I've done that, but not to purchase properties, but I've actually done it to pay off my properties quicker. So I can help. I've done it myself, and I can help other homeowners pay off their 30-year mortgage in as little as 5 to 7 years using a HELOC. So yeah, those are strategies that you can use to pay off properties way faster, because you can save on the interest. The interest on a mortgage is what really keeps you those 30 years there. If you get rid of that interest, then you can pay it off in as little as 5 to 7 years. It's doable.
what would be an interest rate that you would say to stay in between? So, for example, I know right now the interest rates were very low, but they're not gonna be low forever.
No.
So, what would be like a good, average of, stay between maybe, I don't know, 2 to 4, or what is it that you think that it's a good interest to pay, when you get a mortgage?
Okay. For an Airbnb property, you don't
Yeah.
want to go ever because it's going to be long term.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to resell it real quick. So you definitely want to stay below 4%. If it
Okay.
goes above 4%, uh, I would only do it temporarily, and then I would try to refinance with a lower interest. You don't want to pay any more than 4%, because that's going to mean a lot of expense down the road when years come. So you want to stay below 4%.
I
If you
wanted to add.
can, and you have to use something that's above 4%, I would only think of it like maybe keep that for a year, and then after a year
Refinance.
refinance to a lower interest.
Would you go first to a credit
Union?
union or to a bank? Would you do you have them in
Sometimes that's a really good question. A lot of times credit unions are willing to help you more than banks are.
okay.
The banks are a lot more strict.
Mhm.
So I would definitely try a credit union first. I would try a credit union first. Yeah.
But shop around, right?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, you got to shop around too. But another thing is, you don't really want to, you can compare, but you can't really be uh requesting loans from a lot of different places, because then they do something called a hard inquiry
Inquiry.
on your account, on your credit. And a hard inquiry is going to affect your credit score. So every time they check to see if you qualify for a loan, the hard inquiry is gonna reduce your credit score quite a bit for every time they check. So you don't want to do it very often, maybe a couple times, and it has to be within the same month so that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't show from month to month. If you're
Mm.
going to be shopping around, maybe tops shopping around in 3 different banks, maybe 2 credit unions, 1 bank, but I wouldn't do more than that.
Okay.
So now that you point out that whole financing thing, so I've been hearing a lot on TikTok, and the method is called BRR. So it's B and then 4 R's. And what it means is that you buy, then you
Okay.
rehab, you refinance, you rent, and then you repeat.
Repeat.
So
See, now I learned something new because I didn't know that. So that's great. Wow, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so it's buy,
buy,
rehab,
mm-hmm, rent,
Rent.
rent,
refinance,
refinance,
and repeat.
repeat. Okay, I
So
like that.
the reason
Burr.
they do, yeah, burr.
Okay.
The reason they do that, it's because they're trying to, like, you're supposed to refinance, right? And I'm not there yet, so we bought and then we rehabbed, and it took us a little like a while to finish that Airbnb. I think we did a lot of it ourselves, so we did maybe like 5 months it took us to like finish that upstairs unit. And then, so starting from July, that's when we received our first payment from Airbnb.
Okay.
And so mainly we're gonna try and refinance this July. Even though it's
Right.
just been a year, the reason is because once you go to your bank and you show them, maybe the potential income that you're gonna get, throughout the years, you show them this information. You know what? I've been renting my property for a year now. These are the numbers, and now you can use your own that rental income as an extra, or like as an extra source of income. So it's
Right.
like if you were to have a second job, let's say, so you have your own payroll, right? Your check stubs, And then you take into consideration now this extra rental income that adds to your debt to income ratio. So that's very good because now you can refinance and you can get a lower interest rate, or you can pay off your loan quicker.
Yeah, I
So
mean that shows as cash flow from basically a business. You're getting an you're getting extra income. You have cash flow on a business, which is a rental. So that plays a lot into your debt to income, because now you have, if you only had one income, now you have the cash flow of the property. You have two incomes now. Yeah.
yeah, so
So
I think that's very, it's a neat, I learned it on TikTok, so I know there's a lot of people learning stuff on TikTok.
yeah,
And maybe that's why you didn't know about it. You're not on
it's not
TikTok.
just for kids. I'm learning it's not just for kids. Then there's
It's
valuable info on
not.
TikTok too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get into it a lot more.
I'm here
Thanks to you
advertising
guys.
TikTok like if they were to pay me, sponsor
Well,
me. Soon, soon, soon. So that was great. Thank you so much for all of your information. So tell
of
us
course.
how can our listeners reach you, if they're thinking about doing this real estate investing, and how can they reach you to know, so that you can teach them, or at least guide them,
Sure.
take them by the hand, and then maybe do something together,
Yeah.
so they can actually get their hands on their first investment property.
Sure. Sure. So I think the way to win it basically is collaborating as opposed to competing with one another. It's a great way to go, because no one can do it all. It's always valuable to have a whole network of people that you can rely on, and everybody can earn from it. It's good to collaborate. So I have a group page on Facebook. That's mainly where I exchange ideas about real estate investing, and it's called El Paso Real Estate Investors Association. Pretty long name, I know. Sorry. It's on, and it's a Facebook page. So you can just like the page and then just go on there and look at different posts that are there, learn from that. I also have a meetup group that I'm gonna hopefully be working in there together with you guys on a meetup group, uh, and that's called El Paso. Oh man, I forgot the name because it's kind of long. So let me see if I can find it. It is El Paso Real Estate Education for Buyers and Sellers, I believe. Meetup.
Mm-hmm.
And let me look on my laptop. I'm looking in front of it. But yeah, it's El Paso Real Estate Education for Buyers and Sellers. And so on there
Will
too, you can connect, and a lot of times on Meetup, you can actually schedule actual meetings to meet in person, meet the people in person that you're going to be working with, to team up with, or it could also be on virtual. It doesn't have to be in person, but it's nice to also have that option to be able to meet in person.
and we'll gonna add all this in the comments, and
Okay.
we can do both. We can do virtual while we have some people in the space where
Yeah.
Heidi is at in the venue, promoting the venue.
Oh, that'd be great.
So yeah,
That would be great.
we'll do. I'll
Perfect.
have to
Yeah.
go.
So the other thing that I wanted to point out is that I didn't know, because I also don't know a lot of things, but Meetup is actually an app, right? So you had to
Right.
download this app, and it's called Meetup, and then you join
Meetup.com.
this other group,
Yeah.
and then you'll see all the events that happened, and or the events that are going to happen,
Yeah.
and then that's where you can schedule. So I when you would say Meetup, I was like, okay, we're gonna meet up. I didn't realize that it was an actual app
Okay.
until
Yeah. It's an app, and then
until
it's
JC,
also,
yeah, until JC showed me. He's like, oh yeah, it's on Meetup, and I was like, oh okay,
yeah,
maybe there's other people like me that they didn't know, so that's why I'm
very
just
true. Yeah.
pointing it out there.
Yeah.
It's an app, and then you just look us up on a group.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that you feel that will be a good, maybe just a good recommendation on, or anything that you wanted to add that we didn't ask you, that you feel would be worthwhile?
it's always, I think the thing that I always have in mind is no matter how much you know, you can always learn more. So, the key to success is, key is keep educating yourself. I
Oh,
like that saying a lot. It's the key to success. If you don't keep learning, then you're not improving, you're not evolving, and the world changes every day. So if you're not learning daily, you're falling behind. And a great way to learn is to network and meet other people, to collaborate with other people, and you learn from each other. So yeah, that's the main thing I always preach. Like,
yeah.
yeah, keep learning. No matter how
And
much you know, you can always learn more.
no, and that's a very good, saying, I would say, to or motto to go with your life. Yeah,
Yeah.
just keep working on yourself, keep educating yourself. Um,
Yes.
my husband loves to say that all I know is that I know nothing.
Yeah.
That's like his, preach moment.
It's a good philosophy. Yeah.
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 But yeah, definitely, we love to have you all. Thank you so much, Luis, for being here and teaching us all of these things that our listeners are willing and wanting, and they want to learn more. So we're very happy to have you, and we also want to show his books. So if you have time, um, our listeners, here are some of the books Luis Cardenas has written, and these books reveal ultimate home buying and selling secrets. So reach out to him. How can you acquire these books? And they're not going to be a long read or anything, but definitely will give you more information on what you want to do with your next home purchase. Anything you want to add on to that, Luis, about your
I just want
books?
to say thank you guys. It was an honor. And, yeah, I'm willing to help anybody that's willing to learn. You know, Basically, let's collaborate. And there's room for everybody in real estate. Real estate is the way to go.
Awesome. So I do think that that's something that it's going to keep. We've mentioned it before. We do not think that El Paso it's at its peak yet. There's a
Right.
lot of potential here in El Paso, Texas,
Yes.
and let's keep it local. Let's try and keep
Yeah.
it for the people that are born and raised here in El Paso before all these big companies come in and snatch it from us.
Right.
Because a lot of people know that Amazon it's already on its way here, right?
Yeah.
They're building their warehouse as we speak. And sooner than later, El Paso is going to continue to grow and it's going to become a bigger city. So hopefully, we have our listeners and that they want to grow and take
Yes.
advantage of the potential that El Paso has to offer.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was an honor.
No, thank you. Thank you for accepting the invite, and we'll see you soon. And guys, stay posted. We're gonna do an interview in Spanish, and I'm just very happy to continue this conversation. But also stay posted to all of that Facebook that we're gonna continue doing on the meetup and on the Facebook group that we're gonna start learning later on. Okay.
All right.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.